bọ́jọ́ bá pẹ́ títí ọjọ́ àpín o bọ́nà bá jìnnà jìnnà àdópin o àti sáré àdópin aré àmàtí jìyà àdópin ìyà o àti sunsun àti kan ògiri ó má ti gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́tẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o.
ilé òní gbóná kárẹ́nu omi kọ́lé ayé òní kóró kálọ̀ dífá ọ̀run wo láyé náà la ó wà títà ó fi ṣẹ́gun lójú àwọn ọlọ́tẹ̀ ẹkún akọjá òkùnkùn ajímọ́lẹ̀ fáwa ọmọ Yorùbá ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
Di láéláé pọ́n gbá ó mà di láéláé pọ́n gbá Yorùbá ò ní dọ̀bálẹ̀ ẹ̀fẹ́ nìkan ó di gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́tẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o.
ó jẹ́ pé àwọn kan fẹ́ máa fi Yorùbá ṣẹrú ẹgbẹ́ ẹgbẹ́ni tó sọ lánàá pé owó táwọn ń pín àwọn ò ní pín kan àwọn Yorùbá torí pé wọ́n léèyàn nílùú òyìnbó wọ́n fẹ́ kí Yorùbá máa dọ̀bálẹ̀ fáwọn ni Yorùbá ò sì ní dọ̀bálẹ̀ fẹ́nikẹ́ni láéláé mò ń bọ̀.
ológun ẹ bá jàgbà sílẹ̀ o ẹran tí àtọmọdọ́mọ kò ní sún wa kò ní rẹ̀ wá tá ó fi ṣẹ́gun.
ní agbára Ọlọ́run àti múrẹ̀ rodò kó bá máa rẹ̀ wá kò ní rẹ̀ wá tá ó fi ṣẹ́gun lágbára Ọlọ́run ṣé eléyìí tá a kù sí yìí Yorùbá ó padà borí pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run ó yá gbàgbé òkè.
àtùpàgbé oníkànnì bí ẹ bá sùn ẹgbẹ́ ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
bí a bá kú tí a bá jí a ó mẹ́ni rè fẹ́ràn ẹni bá ṣàìsàn wò ni yóò lè mọyì àlàáfíà bí a bá ṣaláìní ká tó wá ní a ó mọyì bàbá ń fojoojúmọ́ jẹun ata ó dífá fún Yorùbá tí í ṣe ọmọ Odùduwà bàbá mi òkè gàgàgà tí í ṣe lépè lẹ́yìn aṣòótọ́ Ọ̀yọ́ Ìbàdàn Oǹdó Ìjẹ̀ṣà Ilé Ifẹ̀ o.
gbọ́ ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Àkúrẹ́ Ọ̀wọ̀ Ìkàrẹ́ Ẹ̀yìn Èkìtì ẹ gbóhùn Ìgbé o.
gbọ́ ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Ìbàràpá Ilé Ẹ̀gbádò Ẹ̀yìn Ọ̀ṣun ẹ gbóhùn Ìgbé o.
gbọ́ ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Ẹ̀yin Ìjẹ̀bú ọmọ Àlárẹ̀ o ẹ̀yin Ẹ̀gbá ọmọ Lísàbí.
gbọ́ ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè o ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
tó mo mà kí gbogbo ojú tó ń wò mí káàkiri ayé mo kí ọkùnrin bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo kí obìnrin mo kí yín káàárọ̀ káàsán kúrọ̀lẹ́ kálẹ́ ibikíbi tẹ́ bá ti wò mí èyí tẹ́ bá ṣàwánú ẹ ṣáà bá mi fi sí ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò Yorùbá Nation Now mo sì dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Olódùmarè ọba tó dá mi ọba tó tún gbà mí láyè lónìí láti tún wá sí ojú ìwòran yín kí n tó máa lọ ẹ jẹ́ n kọ́kọ́ fi àsìkò yìí dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ wo pàtàkì orógbó tí mo ṣe jáde ní àná kódà àwọn èèyàn pè mí gan-an yíyìn yẹn pọ̀ kíkí sì pọ̀ lé lórí mo wá fẹ́ fi dá yín lójú pé kékeré ni tẹ́ rí yìí o torí bá ti máa mú wá fún yín lọ́sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ rí ẹ̀ẹ̀kan lọ́sẹ̀ náà ni ó máa jáde Yorùbá ní àǹfààní kí lorógbó ṣe fún ni wọ́n ní ajẹ́ okòrò a sì tún pákò láwẹ́ oríṣiríṣi àǹfààní ló wà nínú orógbó ẹ̀yin tí ẹ bá tí wo fídíò yẹn ẹ lọ́ọ́ wò ó sì wà ń bẹ̀ títí láéláé ni àṣẹ lánàá gẹ́gẹ́ bí mo ti ṣe àdéhùn oríṣiríṣi àǹfààní ló wà ń bẹ̀ kódà tìtàláboyún wà ń bẹ̀ pàápàá ẹ̀yin ẹ lọ́ọ́ wò ẹ rí i pé ohun tá a kó síbẹ̀ ń tó kìíní bákan náà ni pé mo fẹ́ fi àsìkò yìí rọ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ̀ tí bá wa buwọ́lu ṣánẹ̀lì wa yìí tó jẹ́ pé ẹ̀ ń ṣe àtìkó ẹ̀ ń wá ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀ ń lọ ẹ̀ kàn ó ṣánẹ̀lì wa ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀ ń lọ ẹ̀yin náà ṣe bá wa buwọ́lu ṣánẹ̀lì yìí lónìí kẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ àjọ dìkan náà bákan náà ni pé àmì aago kan wà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ subscribe tí wọ́n kọ ní tẹ́ bá ti tẹ subscribe àmì aago yẹn ló kù ẹ sá tẹ aago yẹn tẹ́ bá ti tẹ yóò gbé àwọn nǹkan kan wá ibi tí wọ́n kọ all ẹ sá tẹ yẹn all nìyẹn all yẹn túmọ̀ sí pé gbogbo iṣẹ́ tí a bá ń ṣe ránṣẹ́ ní inú BGI TV òun náà lẹ́yìn fẹ́ máa wò wọ́n máa fún yín ní alamí ìtó bá wù yín bẹ́ẹ̀ sá kílíkì náà ni ó gbé yín lọ bẹ̀. ẹ má jẹ́ kí n sọ iléyá dílé pẹ́ o gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ wà lórí Facebook àwa náà wà ńbẹ̀ ẹ ṣá lọ sí gbàgede ìmọ̀ with aláwìyé adébáyọ̀ eléyìí ní Facebook page wa bákan náà ni pé a wà lórí Instagram ẹ ṣá lọ sí gbàgede ìmọ̀ _22 ẹ rí wa ńbẹ̀ ẹ fọ́lọ̀ wa láwọn àyè méjèèjì yìí Facebook yẹn tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ wọ́n ti lọ́ọ̀gì wa out mi ò mọ ń dá a sọ tí wọn ò fi gbà wá láyè láti rí wọn mọ́ ìyẹn ti ń lọ bí ọ̀sẹ̀ mẹ́ta sóṣù kan nísìn ọ̀sẹ̀ mẹ́ta torí náà tó bà ní mo kàn déédéé jíjọ́ náà mo rí i pé àárí bẹ̀ wọ̀ mọ́ ó yà ń tà ń sọ táwọn lára ni o bí wọ́n rìpọ́ọ̀tù channel wa ni o kò yé mi ṣùgbọ́n a dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run pé gbogbo tó yẹ ká ṣe àtúngbìyànjú ẹ̀ lénìí lọ́lọ́run bá ní ó bọ̀ sí bóyá punishment yẹn ti parí ní àmọ́ mo wá fi dá yín lójú pé gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí láti máa wò wá lórí Facebook kedere báyìí lẹ́ẹ̀ máa rí wa wò lójoojúmọ́ lágbára Ọlọ́run kódà bàbá ṣe ń ṣe báyìí live lẹ́ẹ̀ máa rí wa wò ní orí Facebook ẹ gbìyànjú kẹ́ ẹ fọ́lò wa kẹ́yìn náà lè máa rí wa wò ní déédéé ó yá ẹjẹ́ àjọ pápádà tòní kaná kájọ tí oúnjẹ tèní ẹ rí pé oúnjẹ aládùn ni bákan náà ni pé ẹjẹ́ àjọ gbé ọkọ̀ ojú omi sí ojú agbami kájọ túkọ̀ tòní in tó dá mi lójú ni pé èbúté ayọ̀ náà lájà sí ohun tó wù mí kí n fi wọlé lónìí ó ní ìṣesí àwọn Fúlàní agbénipa yìí àṣírí kan tú láìpẹ́ yìí tí mo wo fídíò ẹ̀ kí n tó máa bọ̀ àṣírí tó tú yìí wá jẹ́ kí n mọ̀ lárídájú wípé àwọn tá a pè ní amòfin àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ elétò ààbò tí wọ́n mòfin dáadáa tá a mọ̀ lọ́lọ́pàá ó súnmọ́ kí wọ́n jọ ṣiṣẹ́ papọ̀ lára wọn jọ ṣiṣẹ́ papọ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn Fúlàní yìí wọ́n sẹ̀ndí fídíò kan sí mi láìpẹ́ yìí gbà tí mo fẹ́ máa bọ̀ ní stúdíò mo wo fídíò yẹn mo wá ronú títí pé eléyìí fi dá wa lójú pé àwọn tí wọ́n wọ yúnífọ́ọ̀mù lódodo ni wọ́n ní nǹkan ṣe pẹ̀lú àwọn Fúlàní agbénipa yìí ní ọ̀nà Bauchi sí Àbújá mọ́tò bọ́ọ̀sì kan lọ tó kó èrò tó kún bíbá wọ́n sì dé checking point kan ibẹ̀ làwọn Fúlàní ti yọ sí wọn wọ́n kó gbogbo wọn pátá kódà wọ́n gbé driver n tó wá yani lẹ́nu ni pé níbi checking point táwọn ọlọ́pàá máa ń dúró ìgangan yìí tí wọ́n àwọn Fúlàní ti ṣiṣẹ́ ilé kan ń bẹ lẹ́yìn rẹ̀ wọ́n lẹ́nìkan a máa ṣe bí wèrè Haúsá Fúlàní ni a sì máa ṣe bí wèrè àṣé ibi táwọn tí ń gbé ní payì àṣebi tó ń gbé ní ibẹ̀ ni wọ́n kó àwọn èèyàn tó bá gbé sí àwọn ọlọ́pàá sì mọ̀ wọ́n tú gbogbo ilé yẹn o àṣírí padà tú lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ àmọ́ wọ́n ti kó àwọn tó jí kó lọ wọ́n ti kó wọn sá lọ ẹ rí ọta àbọn lóríṣiríṣi àti tajútajú tí wọ́n pè ní tear gas àtoríṣiríṣi bẹ́ẹ̀ rí ní tó wá yẹ èmi lẹ́nu ni pé ṣé àwọn ọlọ́pàá yóò mọ nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ńbẹ̀ ni lélẹ̀ tí ó fi dá wa lójú pé ètò ààbò nílùú yìí àfikọ́ ló ń ṣàánú wa ló dẹ̀kù àwa tá à ń gbèlú ìbọn inú fu ẹ̀dọ̀fu la fi ń gbé bẹ́ẹ̀ àfikọ́ lẹ́dùmarè ọba òkè ṣọ́ wa kó fìṣọ́ ẹ̀ṣọ́ wa gan ní tí mò ń sọ rèé ẹ jẹ́ wo fídíò yẹn ní pápápá káwa náà lè rí tí mò ń sọ yìí pé eléyìí ti kọjá làákàyè ní tó wá ń yà mí lẹ́nu ni pé ṣé bíjọba ń gbọ́ gbogbo ń tá a sáà ń sọ lójoojúmọ́ yìí ìgbé tó ní kálukú ń ké ṣe bíjọba ń gbọ́ wọn ò ṣetán níṣẹ́ láti ràn lú lọ́wọ́ ni wọn ò ṣetán láti dá sọ̀rọ̀ ààbò kò sí tó kàn wọ́n mò ń bọ̀ ná ẹ̀já wò.
This is the 2nd of December 2021, and something happened around Auchi Abuja Expressway. A bus load of passengers were kidnapped, and the driver was also kidnapped. And it was said that at this particular place that the thing happened, there's always a checkpoint here, mounted by policemen, where this thing happened. And behind there is a house. And it was also said that a madman lives here. But can you believe we found this here? We found this here where the kidnapping happened. Where in the house where they said the madman lives. This is what we found here. This is what we found here. These are both expanded cells and I think this is a tear gas canister. And this is this water. They never fire those ones now. The ones that they never fire, man. You put this tear gas. This is they never fire that one. Yeah? This is the house. This is the house. This is where they camp. This is where they hide people. This is where they hide their kidnapped victims. And there's a checkpoint right in front of this house.
Yes, now.
There's a checkpoint right in front of this house where all this is happening.
Yes, now.
There's a checkpoint right in front of the house where all this is happening. This is where they kidnap people and bring them to. Not just a lighter. Go around, see things for yourself. See things for yourself. Eh? Right where there is supposed to be security men, law enforcement agencies. This is happening. Would they say they didn't see, they were not here when this happened? And this is not the first time, according to people here. This is not the first time this is happening, right in this very place.
One video the boat.
I don't video around, not be missing.
Okay. You see,
This is where it's happening. Now look, travelers are stranded. Travelers are stranded. The villagers are rioting. This is not the first time. They say this is not the first time it's happening. Almost every week, you must hear of one thing or the other here. Almost every week. Every week. Every week. This is where they mount their roadblocks to rob. This is where they also mount their roadblocks to extort money from drivers. Yeah, they can't protect us. They can't protect us, but they can protect criminals. They can hide criminals.
Abo nílùú ìbáyìí àfikẹ́lẹ́dọ̀ àbọ̀ kí ó ṣàánú wa ọ̀rẹ́ mi ò mọ kí la fẹ́ pé eléyìí tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ọmọdé rìn ò dáràn bágbà rìn ò dáràn á lè rìn kéèyàn má gbẹ̀gbẹ́ bọ̀ tún wò sí bó bá wa mọ́tò lọ ọkùnrin ò lè balẹ̀ bó bá ń fẹsẹ̀ rìn inú aeroplane nìkan lèèyàn lè wà tọkàn lè balẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà tá a wà yìí sí báyìí òye mi o èmi ò mọ kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ o aeroplane ọ̀hún gan mo gbọ́ wípé torí dọ́là tó ń gbówó lórí àfi bíi pé ìlú yìí nìkan ni problem ìlú yìí nìkan ló ń exist ọ̀rọ̀ wa burú débi pé ojoojúmọ́ báyìí ni dọ́là ń gbówó lórí ojoojúmọ́ dọ́là ń bàjẹ́ sí ní Nàìjíríà àwọn àyátà àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣètò ìbánira tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì àti lọ sókè òkun àbí àti wá látòkè òkun wá sí Nàìjíríà wọ́n ní wọ́n ti gbókèlé Nàìjíríà báyìí lè sí wípé wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ ta tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì fún Nàìjíríà mọ́ wọ́n láwọn tí wọ́n ń tà online wọ́n ní wọn ò rí owó torí pé dọ́là yẹn hàn wọn ò rí dọ́là fi sanwó mọ́ nítorí ẹ̀ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ àbí gbà tí dọ́là ẹyọ kan tí 500 naira plus ń rà dọ́là ẹyọ kan Nàìjíríà ayé ìgbà kan dẹ̀ wà tó jẹ́ dọ́là tá à ń sọ yìí 2 naira $2 ní 1 naira nígbà kan 1 naira wá ra $2 nígbà kan 1 naira náírà ẹyọ kan á ra odindi $2 nígbà kan lónìí 500 and bóyá 30 ló máa ra dọ́là kan nísìn Ọlọ́run nìkan ló lè ṣàánú ìlú yìí wọ́n fọ́ lójú wọn kọ wọ́bọ̀ wọ́n wá ń gún lọ́bẹ ni níbi tí wọ́n bàjẹ́ dé pátápátá tí ò lójútùú báyìí tó ti fọ́ gidi bá jẹ́ àwọn ìlú míì ni olórí tó wà ń bí àti resign tipẹ́tipẹ́ pé vote of no confidence ò pass ẹ̀ lórí ìjọba o àmọ́ who wants to do that? Nobody is ready. Kò sẹ́ni tó ṣetán láti ṣerú ẹ̀. Ìlú ń bàjẹ́ sí lójoojúmọ́ ni kò sáàbò kò síkọ oúnjẹ gan pàápàá àwọn èèyàn ti fẹ́ lè máa lò ṣàlẹ̀ jẹ́ ń tì mi tó burú dé ìjọba ẹlòmíì ti lè fọ́n pé mo jẹ mẹ́ta pé lójúmọ́ kò sọmọ ṣó ti yó mọ́ ṣó ti jẹun lókù ó bá ti ẹ̀rí jẹ rárá àfikọ́ ló má gbà ní o àtúwá bùgàdà wọ́n láwọn yọ subsidy kó no petrol àwọn máa fún àwọn akúṣẹ̀ 40 million ní 5,000 dídómìláyè jáde o ó ní ká má dáhùn calculation tọmọkùnrin ìdẹ́ ṣe nígbà tẹ́mi padà dọ́fíìsì mo ń gbọ́bọ̀ ní mọ́tò nígbà mo dọ́fíìsì mo ṣe calculation correct ẹ̀yin náà ẹ ṣe lọ́wọ́ ara yín ó ní tó bá jẹ́ lóòótọ́ ni wọ́n fẹ́ máa fún 40 million Nigeria out of gbogbo population tá jẹ́ bóyá 200 million àbí mélòó àwọn vulnerables àwọn tí wọ́n ò ní wọ́n náà máa fún 40 million wọn àwọn máa fún wọn ní 5,000 lóṣooṣù ọdún wọn ti wá lánàá Ṣàdí Àfàrúkù ti wá lánàá pé kò sí tí yóò bá ń bẹ̀ bóyá àwọn 40 million bóyá àwọn Hausa nìkan náà fẹ́ máa fún dídómìláyè wá jáde pé kò jọ ó ní kí Nàìjíríà sì máa gbà ó nítorí pé 5,000 40 million fódìdí ọdún kan ó dárúkọ iye trillions tó jẹ́ 2 point something trillion ló sọ pé jẹ́ bóyá bílíọ̀nù dẹ̀ ló pè ní ó wá ní owó subsidy tí wọ́n fẹ́ yọ ó ní 1 point something billion ní ẹ̀dọ̀ ṣéèyàn máa ń fi ẹ̀dínwó ra ẹ̀kúnwó ni á fi ẹ̀dínwó á fi ra ìléwó dídómìláyè ní géèmù ni wọ́n fẹ́ fi play ṣé ẹ mọ̀ pé òun náà fún rẹ̀ ti wà ní géèmù yẹn tẹ́lẹ̀ wọ́n jọ ń ṣe ni òun mọ gbogbo ti fún tẹ̀dọ̀ géèmù yẹn ló ná tuntun play yìí òun náà ti bá wọn play ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ sí ẹ̀yìn tẹ́lẹ̀ nígbà ayé Goodluck Jonathan ọdún ti wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọ́n fẹ́ yọ subsidy kó ibi dèsì á ní ti rí gbogbo owó tó fi ra gbára wo nìyẹn bẹ́ẹ̀ rán rí tán sì tàn lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀lẹ́nujọ́ mẹ́ta $40 million jewelries tán wọ̀ sọ́rùn tán wọ̀ sára pé jewelries lásán góòlù kọ̀ọ̀kọ̀ tán 40 million irú owó subsidy náà ni wọ́n ti rí nísìnyí wọn náà fẹ́ yọ kúrò kọ́ máa fáwọn èèyàn 5,000 dídómìláyè ó wá nísìnyí ó ní kò jọ ó ṣe calculations yẹn ẹgbọ́ta ní ká gbàgbọ́ tí wọ́n fẹ́ tún ti wá ṣe ní àmì wọ́n túbọ̀ fẹ́ fọ́ lójú pápátá èwo ní ká ṣe ẹgbọ́n tí dídómìláyè sọ.
Yeah, fellow countrymen and women, I remain Dino Melaye. I'm just here to expose the hypocrisy of government and another way to siphon and steal our common patrimony. The federal government announced that they will be giving 5,000 to 40 million Nigerians monthly because of the removal of fuel subsidy. But I want to say that this is not acceptable to me as an individual and to the anti-corruption network, because 5,000 times 40 million people will amount to 200 billion every month. 200 billion every month. And 200 billion times 12 months in a year, that means federal government will be dashing out 2.4 trillion naira. 5,000 monthly to 40 million Nigerians will amount to 200 billion, and that's 200 billion times 12 will give you 2.4 trillion naira every month. Meanwhile, what we are deducting or what we are spending on subsidy annually now is 1.8 trillion naira. So if you want to rescue the country by the removal of subsidy because we are spending too much, you want to replace 1.8 trillion with 2.4 trillion. Then where are we going as a country? Where are we going as a nation? The hypocrisy is too enormous. So I call on the Buhari administration to keep its 5,000 naira and remove subsidy if you want to remove subsidy, and look for more innovative, intellectually mobile strategies of taking us out of the woods. This is just a typical interpretation that the government have lost a sense of direction, they have no intellectual mobility, they are intellectually stagnant, and they cannot devise other strategic economic means of reviving our economy and creating employment and taking us out of the doldrum. Anyway, a country that has fought for close to over 6, 7 to 10 years, insecurity, and they've not found any solution to it. So I call on Nigerians to reject this initiative of 5,000 naira, because it is another way to make some elite in this country richer. It is another way to create looting funds for some individuals, and they will steal the money. The masses that the money is meant for will not get it, because we don't have the data to even exercise these procedures. We have no legitimate means of even reaching 40 million Nigerians. There's nothing. There's no data. There is no banking process. There is no technology or even the wherewithal to execute these projects they are claiming. So I call on Nigerians to reject the 5,000 naira, because you are just replacing 1.8 trillion with 2.4 trillion. And the burden at the end of the day is on the masses of this country. Say no.
Ẹ gbọ́ báyìí, àfikọ́ lọ ń gbà wá o, àwọn ọmọ ń tá lè ṣe sí báyìí o, ìdẹ̀rùpá lẹ́nu ọ̀rọ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n kankan wà tá a ṣe ń gbà yẹn láyé Goodluck. Àwọn èèyàn jáde, wọ́n lọ sí Gani Faweyi Miss Park, wọ́n strike rẹpẹtẹ nígbà náà. Tó bóyá rú ẹ̀ ló tún máa ṣẹlẹ̀ àmọ́ o. Bóyá ti ládẹ̀ máa gbà sára bẹ́ẹ̀ pé tó ètò tó bá wùn ọ̀kan fi wá pa tó kọ́lọ̀ sáyọ̀ wá ń bẹ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ tí mo fẹ́ sọ yìí pa mí lẹ́rìn. Torí pé nígbà míì ẹlòmíì á máa rò pé òun gbọ́n, àmọ́ ọ̀dẹ̀ ni àgọ̀ lábálá rẹ̀. Ẹlòmíì á máa rò pé òun gbọ́n, ṣé Yorùbá ní àyà gbọ́n, Ògúngbè náà gbọ́n, àyà ń tiro, Ògúngbè bẹ̀rẹ̀. Ẹni tí mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ sìn, ó ní Mr. Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé, Chairman Ọ̀dàlẹ̀ Nigeria Limited. Mr. Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé ṣe gbàgbé wípé gbogbo ẹnu ni mo sọ, mi ò dé apologize láti sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Ó wà nínú àwọn tí wọ́n náṣẹ́ olóyè Sunday Igboho. Ó wà nínú àwọn tí wọ́n fún ìjọba ní gbogbo bí ilé olóyè Sunday Igboho ṣe rí. Òun náà dẹ̀ deny. Ó ní tóun ò bá ṣe tóun ṣe ń gbà yẹn, ó ní pé civil war míì bá tún ṣẹlẹ̀ Nàìjíríà. Ó sì tọ́ olóyè Igboho títí ó rí gbogbo dátà lé ẹ̀, ó fún wọn lọ́wọ́. Tó ṣe bíi pé kò sírú òun jọ náà, tí ẹ̀ náà ti bá báyìí, tí ẹ̀ ti bá. Torí pé lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí sì òun àti EFCC ni wọ́n jọ ń pò ó. Ṣé ẹ mọ̀ pé Yorùbá ní ẹni bá ti rí ẹni ọmọ tí ò bá ṣe ohun fùkù kò ní kíyèsí ìkùlé. Bọ́rọ̀ ṣe rí nìyẹn. Bí èèyàn bá ṣe ohun fùkù kò ní kíyèsí ìkùlé. Ẹni bá sì ṣe ohun fùkù dandan ni kó máa kíyèsí ìkùlé. Wọ́n ní kọ́bẹ̀sùn fapò rọrí, ìwà ọmọ ní mọ́mọ́ jòkígbẹ́. Òun náà ni tí ń ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí. Àṣetínúmẹ̀láyè ti ní skẹ́lẹ́tì inú kọ́bọ̀dù ẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀, kò sọ̀gbọ́n náà kó má ní. Torí pálájẹbánu ọ̀jẹ́ ńlé orò jẹ́ ńlé eégún ni. Àmúnídínúmẹ̀láyè Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé jàre. Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé ti ní skẹ́lẹ́tì inú kọ́bọ̀dù ẹ̀. Ẹwọ̀n kọ́ jẹ́ ńlé orò jẹ́ ńlé eégún ni. Chelsea mọ̀ pé òun ló nọṣẹ́ olóyè Sunday Igboho. Tó ìdíwá rèé tí Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé fi lọ join APC àṣírí tú. Àṣé owó ńlá tàbùà kan wà tí Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé àtàwọn kan tí wọ́n ti ṣe lówó kọ́bẹ́ tí wọ́n ti gbé pamọ́ tí wọ́n ti ná lọ́nà àìtọ́ lájẹbánu ní ìgbà tí wọ́n wà ní mínísítà ní ọ̀dà Jonathan. Lẹ́nujọ́ mẹ́ta yìí Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé sì mọ̀ pé àṣírí yóò ní pẹ́ tú. Chelsea ìrántí pàwọn kan ti sọ tẹ́lẹ̀ wípé tó o bá ti lẹ́sẹ̀ kan tó o ṣẹ̀ tó o ní kéèsì kan ìwọ sádàrà mọ̀ pé o sádàrapọ̀ mọ́ APC tó bá ti darapọ̀ máwọn gbogbo ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ó ti di fíforíjì ẹni sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà sí kò sí inú ipò àṣẹ APC mọ̀ lónìí ẹ ti mọ ẹni wọ̀n wí bàbá kúkúrú ó ti yé yín oníjó tó nígbàtí ọ̀sí ọmọlẹ̀ sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ mo ti dárúkọ ẹ má bínú nígbàtí bàbá kúkúrú sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ǹjọ́ kìíní àná mo rò pé lẹ́yìn ní Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé náà wá rí lòun náà fi yá tètè lẹ́nu tí ìgbín tó fi bú òòṣà ló padà lọ fi lọ́lẹ̀ ló fi jẹ́ kó padà sínú ìjọba yìí. Owó tó gbé yìí EFCC wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní ìdáláàmú ní ìsìn Chelsea mọ̀ pé ó ti dára wọn ó ti wà nù pátì wọn tó èmi wo bó láàbọ̀rọ̀ ìdé lánàá òde yìí EFCC sì gbé wọ́n ti kọ́ fílẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ wọ́n tún wá padà gbé lórí owó tàbùà yìí lélẹ́yìí tó wà nú ẹ̀ yìí mi ò rò pé Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé lè bọ́ nú ẹ̀ torí wọ́n ṣetán láti bá a tán àmọ́ gbòòun náà ti wà ní kákọ́ọ̀sì àwọn tí wọ́n lẹ́sẹ̀ àmọ́ tí ó padà ṣẹlẹ̀ ọ̀nà tó fi dírè tó fi sáré lọ sápamọ́ sábẹ́ APC tó fi ń ṣe tó ń ṣe àmọ́ o bí rọ́bà lọ lógún ọdún ọjọ́ kan báyìí lòdòdó bá ọ̀tá fàsókè yìí ló borí ni Ọlọ́run padà wà ń bẹ̀ tí ó mú ẹwọ̀n pọ̀ Ọlọ́run wò níjọ́ kìíní àná tí Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé lọ sọ́dọ̀ olóyè Sunday Igboho ebi kíní ìwà náà tó takò pé ọpẹ́ ní iye ètò ni kò ṣe é nù lẹ́nu nù ẹjẹ́ àwọn tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí Fẹ́mi o ọmọ Fani-Káyọ̀dé.
And the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has rearrested the former Minister of Aviation, Minister Femi Fani-Káyọ̀dé, over an alleged document falsification. Mr. Fani-Káyọ̀dé had been questioned on same accusation at the Lagos office of the Commission last week. The rearrest on Tuesday occurred at the Federal High Court after the hearing on alleged money laundering charges against him and others, which is before Justice Daniel Osiago, was adjourned until January 24th, 2022. Earlier today, all the defendants in the trial had appeared before the judge. They are Mr. Fani-Káyọ̀dé, alongside the former Minister of State for Finance, Nenadi Usman, as well as Yusuf Danjuma, who was the chairman of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria and a company, Joint Trust Dimensions Nigeria Limited. But trial couldn't proceed due to the absence of defense counsel Ferdinand Obi, representing the first defendant, Mrs. Usman. The prosecutor, Rotimi Oyedepo, did not oppose the request for adjournment, but told the judge that the EFCC had recently discovered that all the medical reports of hospitals, including the Kubwa General Hospital in Abuja, previously presented by Mr. Fani-Káyọ̀dé to stall his trial on health grounds, were allegedly fake.
Èrò tó ń lọ sókè òkun ẹ̀yìn dà. Ságbàsúlà àti máa wálé iṣẹ́ tó kójú òṣùwọ̀n láti bá ní ṣètò ìwé ìrìnnà ní kókó. Ọpẹ́ o! Ṣíṣe ìwé ìrìnnà dìrọ̀rùn ká bá ní ṣètò ilégbèé fún ìgbádùn àkókò ìsinmi lẹ́nu iṣẹ́, ìrìn àjò afẹ́ fún àwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́, lílọ sí Mẹ́kà òun Jerúsálẹ́mù, ó fẹ́ lọ kàwé lókè òkun, iṣẹ́ kíkọ́ lókè òkun àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Force Excellent Able Travels and Tours Limited wọ́n gba òǹtẹ̀ lọ́dọ̀ ìjọba pẹ̀lú àwọn àjọ elétò ìrìn àjò ojú òfurufú. Force Excellent Able Travels and Tours Limited àwọn gan lọ́ba láti bá wa dòwò pọ̀. Ẹ lè pe 09055052472. Ẹ sì lè tẹ àtẹ̀ránṣẹ́ sórí +639-174-163-562. Wọ́n wà ní nọ́mbà 45 Shokenway Òkè Ìjẹun Abẹ́òkúta ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn. Ẹ lè kàn sí www.excellenttravels.com.ph. Force Excellent Able Travels and Tours Limited. Ìrìn àjò dìrọ̀.
tó bọ̀dà Fẹ́mi Fani-Káyọ̀dé àbí dádì ní ká pè wọ́n gbogbo ẹni tí bá ti ń dalẹ̀ pátápátá kò ní dalẹ̀, gbogbo ẹni bá dalẹ̀ kò ní dalẹ̀, gbogbo ẹni bá sì dalẹ̀ yóò balẹ̀ lọ ni. Ẹ bá ń gbọ́ pé ọ̀dàlẹ̀ balẹ̀ kù, ó ti dalẹ̀ Yorùbá, ó sì ti dandan kó jìyà rẹ̀. ní tó wá torí ẹ̀ sápamọ́ sí APC òun náà làṣírí tú yìí. àfi kélédù ọba òkè kó ṣàánú wa nílùú yìí. ṣé ẹ rántí Endsars, ẹ rántí àwọn ọmọ ọlọ́mọ tí wọ́n pàdánù? àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ kọmití wọ́n submit tí wọ́n rí fún gọ́fúnà Èkó, ìyẹn lọ bí ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì báyìí. inú gbogbo ayé dùn nígbà tí wọ́n sòdodo, torí pé kò fi bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́pọ̀ kí ìjọba yanrú kọmití bẹ́ẹ̀ kan tún wá padà sòdodo, kì í ṣe tó fi bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́pọ̀. látara ìyànjẹ kan náà tá à ń sọ rèé nílùú yìí tó wà nílùú yìí. ẹ pa àwọn ọmọ ọlọ́mọ, ẹ kókù wọn lọ kó pamọ́. ẹ wá tún wá ń sọ nígbà tí Mr. Láíláí máa jáde tiẹ̀, òun ní sígbà táwọn ọmọ yòó ń ṣẹran, báwo náà ṣe máa kàn pa wọ́n táwọn ẹbí wọn ò ní yọjú? ṣé wọn lẹ́bí ni? Definitely wọn pààyàn kankan nìyẹn. mo rẹ́rìn títí ó ní pé ń tọ́ kọ yẹn o, ó ní rìpọ́ọ̀tù yẹn ó ní fake ni. Festus Keyamo ìyẹn náà ní fake ni. ok ọdún lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ ó ní barrister Fẹ́mi Fálànà ti dá lóhùn. àmọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀ àwọn ìyá àwọn ọmọ yìí máa yọjú. gbogbo àwọn ìyá ọmọ tí wọ́n pa pátá, gbogbo wọn ni wọ́n kóra wọn pọ̀ tí wọ́n yọjú o. kódà wọ́n lọ sí ilé deputy governor Lagos State, ibẹ̀ ni wọ́n ti ń lọ pariwo. mo tún wá fẹ́ gbọ́ kí ni tí Mr. Láíláí fẹ́ sọ o. àwọn òbí ẹ̀rù ń bà wọ́n tẹ́lẹ̀ láti yọjú ni, torí wọn mọ tún tí wọ́n lè pa fáwọn. àmọ́ nǹkan gbà tí wọ́n gbọ́ ọ̀kan tí Lai Muhammed sọ, àwọn òbí yìí yọjú. ògbó wọn ni wọ́n gbé placard tí wọ́n sì wọ aṣọ dúdú. ẹ já wo nǹkan táwọn òbí yẹn ṣe. mò ń bọ̀.
Justice prevail for every child that was concerned during the Endsars protest. We want accountability. You will be mandated to pursue it, forgive the reform, and it's not the reform that has been issued by the tribunal. Our big someone, we are mothers and we are mourning. There is no peace in the land, and you are calling for the work of peace. I can't tell you, if we do not seek justice for our children, no peace shall be in Lagos State. You turned our morning into night. You turned our joy into sorrow. These other women are cowards. We are not cowards. We are not cowards. We are not cowards. kidding.
Àwọn òbí àwọn tí wọ́n pa olè ń wò yẹn ọ̀dọ̀ human rights activists dé tó ń olólìdí wọn. Ṣé àgbàgbé láìpẹ́ yìí ni white paper tí wọ́n náà retí jáde láti ìjọba Èkó. Ìjọba Èkó náà àwọn náà fi síbì kan. Ibi tó sì fi sí ni pé ẹyọ kan péré ni wọ́n pa níjọ́ náà. Wọ́n ní kò sí sáàrí dájú wípé ìbọn ni wọ́n fi pa, pé kò sáàrí dájú pé ìbọn àwọn àmì tàbí ìbọn ọlọ́pàá ló pa, kò sí sáàrí dájú pé Lẹ́kì ni wọ́n ti yìnbọn. Nítorí ìdí èyí àwọn náà fara mọ́ gbogbo tí wọ́n sọ yẹn sínú rìpọ́ọ̀tù. Ọlọ́run á ṣàánú wa. Ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n pé obìnrin kan tí orúkọ ẹ̀ jẹ́ Aishat Yusuf, gbogbo àná la mọ̀, obìnrin tí máa ń lò jáàbù activist báyìí tó bá ṣe bí ọkùnrin. Wọ́n pé obìnrin náà sì sọ̀rọ̀ ilẹ̀kùn. Ṣé rí ìlú yìí Ọlọ́run nìkan ló dẹ̀kù ká máa bẹ̀. Ló ṣe jẹ́ pé Yorùbá làwọn fẹ́ lọ. Tó bá lè dáwà lẹ̀ jẹ́ kí Yorùbá lọ. Mo mọ̀ pé referendum alágbára ló fẹ́ jáde. Ìlú yìí nǹkan tó lè ṣẹ́tù ọ̀rọ̀ ìlú yìí ó ní kó ní kálukú dọ́mú yẹ́gbè. Kò sí nǹkan míì tó lè ṣẹ́tù ìlú yìí jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Kó ní kálukú dá ọmú yẹ́gbè ó nìkan ní solution. Torí bí wọ́n ṣe ń bàbọ̀ yìí ẹ máa wò ó, mo rí kàmbì kan pé àwọn Àrẹwà wọ́n tún ti ń gbìyànjú láti fi candidate ilẹ̀ láti ilẹ̀ Haúsá láti north, bóyá Fúlàní mìíràn tó máa gbélẹ̀. Mo mọ̀ pé àwọn tí wọ́n ń pariwo referendum láfẹ́, mo mọ̀ pé jọ́ ẹ̀ lójú gbogbo wọn máa wá là. Ní ọ̀bá tún announce candidate láti north, ó ṣọ́ọ̀pù PDP nọ́tánà làwọn yẹn máa fílẹ̀ tí wọ́n ná. Nígbé PC náà bá announce nọ́tánà wọ́n wá rí pé gbogbo ń tà ń sọ látijọ́ kìí ṣe pà ń parọ́, kìí ṣe pà ń dà lúrú. À ń tààrí là ń sọ ń pa ẹ̀, future tààrí náà là ń sọ nípa ẹ̀. Wọ́n á rí wípé lódodo sẹ́ẹ̀ òun làwọn Àrẹwà sọ pé àwọn gbọ́dọ̀ kù South lẹ́rú, pàápàá jùlọ Yorùbá. Mọ́lápìnlẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ tọ́ní Sọ́dá Fúdé ló kọ́ pé gbogbo tẹ́rítì gbogbo ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà ilẹ̀ bàbá àwọn ilé àwọn ní. Káwọn ọmọ nǹkan sì máa tẹ̀síwájú láti rí pé wọ́n gba gbogbo ilẹ̀ yẹn yíká. Nígbàtẹ́ lọ́dún mẹ́jọ tán tẹ́ẹ̀túnlẹ̀ tún fẹ́ padà síbẹ̀ padà kẹ́tún lọ́dún mẹ́jọ míì, ìran tó kù wá ṣe ẹrú yín ni. Àwọn èèyàn dẹ̀ sọ pé àwọn ògbà ẹ̀kọ́ bọ̀ sí tẹ̀bẹ̀sì ní yìnbọn pa wọ́n. Wọ́n wá mátàmọ́ wọ́n láwọn òpẹ́ nìkan, àwọn òṣè nǹkan kan fẹ́ nìkan, ẹnìkan kó òkú. Ó ṣe wọ́n ní kò sẹ́jẹ̀ ilẹ̀, ẹ̀jẹ̀ tẹ́tí kó lásìpà wà tí wọ́n ti wá fọ̀ kílẹ̀ tó mọ́. Wọ́n ará bí yóò máa rántí pé àwọn náà bímọ, wọ́n máa rántí pé àwọn náà máa kó láyé ìjọ kan. Ẹ jẹ́ gbọ́ ọ̀kan tí Fásimọ̀ Yusuf sọ, ń bọ̀.
I think the government is not trying to cover up. The government has already covered up, and for them it's this sort of like yank the rug off their feet in terms of the Lagos judicial panel coming out and actually stating things the way they are rather than the way that the government expected. I've glanced through the white paper, and it's quite funny how the Lagos state government is ready not to accept the findings of the judicial panel wherever it goes against what they have stood for, what they're trying to cover, which is to say no killings happened. And where you saw recommendation of some officers that are supposed to face prosecution, they just simply say no, that there's no any evidence of arbitrary killings at the Lagos at the Lekki toll gate. So the government in itself, the Lagos state government, is trying to play play funny. It's what it has done in the last month since the killings at the toll gate, and it's actually pathetic. Just reading through the white paper and how the Lagos State government is quick to say that okay, certain things are not within its power to be able to do that. Which of course we do agree. There are certain things that they need to go to the federal government. For example, the issue of making that day a national holiday and stuff like that, and they need to go to the federal government. They need to go to the National Economic Council. But where the Lagos State government is supposed to take responsibility and where it is against the stance that the Lagos State government has taken, it hasn't done that. And I actually read the speech of the Lagos State governor, Mr. Jide Sanwo-Olu, and that speech is absolute insult to the sensibilities of the people of Lagos State in particular, and also to Nigerians in general. The governor practically came out in a condescending manner, speaking down on the people, telling the people that they should come out for a walk of peace, telling the people how they should embrace harmony. It's very easy for the governor to talk about harmony and peace and not talk about justice, because he hasn't lost any loved one. The people who have lost their loved ones, who are mourning, who are still mourning, because what is most painful when you lose a loved one, it's when the government is actually trying to gaslight you and deny that your loved one ever existed. I've gone through this with the Bring Back Our Girls movement and saying the Chibok parents, where the government of the day then said that there was no abduction. And I remember one of the mothers would ask in 2014 that whenever she hears that people say that the Chibok girls abduction never happened, she asks herself whether her 18-year-old daughter never existed. So I'm pretty sure the families of the victims of the killings in Lagos are also wondering, is it that their loved ones never existed? And so it's utterly shameful. And alluding also this issue of the governor alluding that there are hoodlums who came out and took over the protest and all of that. No, there are no hoodlums. The governor is the #1 hoodlum in Lagos State, and he brought in his fellow hoodlums to come and attack protesters who were peaceful. And we saw where they were brought in the government vehicles, where they were attacking, where the police did nothing, while the hoodlums that were brought in by the state governor and the state government were attacking innocent protesters. And we've also seen the situation whereby first of all, where they denied that any soldiers were brought into the Lekki toll gate, and here now we are having the governor being indicted, and he is the one who asked the soldiers to come and do what? You saw one of the things that in the white paper, one of the sort of rejection that they had, where they talked about that soldiers have no business in terms of civilian action, in terms of coming to quell any protest, and the government is rejecting that, meaning it's something they've used, something they're interested in using again, and something they will continue to use. They are not interested in the lives of the people of Lagos State. And I think this is the time for the people of Lagos State and Nigeria in general to know that these people in power, they do not have regards for the citizen. And until and unless you go after what is most dear to them, which is that political power, they will continue to treat the citizens with disdain.
Well, you've made some very interesting points there. One of them, of course, being the idea of conspiracy theories, that things that purportedly happened didn't happen. I mean, we've had conspiracy theories around things like, the Holocaust and so on. But I get your point that it's more worrying when it's not just ordinary people saying those things, when it's a government saying those things. On the other hand, of course, the big issue of contention is how the panel arrived at the conclusion that 9 people died at the Lekki toll gate. I mean, there seems to be, according to the government, a big disparity between the panel saying that 1 person died from gunshot wounds at Lekki toll gate, and that comes from the pathologist, the report of the pathologist, Professor Bafunwa, and then later coming to the conclusion that 9 people died. So that's a big issue for them. They're suggesting that the panel's report is quite confusing.
Well, there's nothing confusing about the report from the judicial panel. What is confusing the government is the fact that they wanted the panel to actually support their own point of view. And let me just take this moment to commend the panel. I've said this before, I tweeted it, and I'm repeating this again. When we think about courage, we're always thinking about, oh, it's when you stand against bullets or your tear gas. That's what courage is all about. Or when we talk about activism and, you know, activists are only those who are out on the streets. No, what they did is amazing. This is activism at the at a very high level. They came, even though they know the panel that was set up by the government, they were ready to investigate, they were ready to hear from the witnesses, and they were ready to put out the report the way it is. And so that is what it has done now. And everything, they're going around to find everything they can to discredit the same panel that they had set up. You know, if Nigeria was a sane country, because first of all, the reason why we're even ecstatic about the fact that yes, the panel came out and put out a report, a factual report the way it is because we're used to a nation where you either don't get to hear anything about whatever panel is set up when the findings of the panel is set up, like we had the General Sabo committee that was set up to now on Chibok girls. Up to now we haven't seen that report, and so now that we have seen one where the judicial panel is actually not forgetting whether it was government that set them up, really sitting down and following what is the way the report is. And so because of the anomaly that we have, so for me they are to be commended, and every one of us must understand that in any way that we find ourselves, we must also stand, we must always stand for the truth and for justice, and that's the only way Nigeria can be better. Coming back to the question that you did ask, there were witnesses, right, at that panel. So even if there was a young man who was actually he was considered dead, and on that day we saw live footage of that event, and even at that moment in the middle of stress, in the middle of being shot at, when you're being shot at, the last thing you're thinking about, you know, at that moment it's between your life and death, right? That's what you're thinking about. There were people who were recording and telling us that the military were actually taking bodies away, and I remember within those few hours most of us were tweeting and said that they're trying to take away the evidence of the crime that they're committing. There's a young man who they thought was dead, and they actually added him to the bodies that they had carried, and he counted like about 11 or something like that. There are witnesses that have come forward, and these witnesses right now are being attacked. There's a young woman who was attacked viciously because of the fact that she was a witness at the Lagos State Judicial Panel. So the panel sat down and went through its findings. It beyond the body that was there.
Akọni ò tún gba fọ́tò lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀.
Gbogbo nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ àti tí ò ṣẹlẹ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀ ló sọ fámọ̀kẹ́.
Tó jẹ́ pé fọ́tò mi làkànní fi ń to gbogbo ilé tó máa ń fi mí yangàn ní gbogbo abúlé.
Kò lẹ́tùtù bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kò lẹ́bọ̀.
Èyí lè fún ju $3,000.
Dollars. Ẹ sà ṣe ló tẹ fún mi.
Orí pípé yẹn gan náà ni mo fẹ́ emphasize lórí.
Ṣé wá rí ẹ wá ṣọ́ra fún àwọn ohun ìbínú.
By force and by fire, you are coming with me.
Tí wọ́n ní kó rán lọ́ba mi já èèyàn, máa gbé wá mi. Ó ń kọ́ bò. Kí ni nǹkan tó ń sọ lẹ́nu náà? Kí ló ń bẹ̀ fún?
Ẹ̀gbọ́n kí tiẹ̀ ní big deal gan. Èèyàn báyàwó ọ̀rẹ́ láṣepọ̀, kí ni big deal?
Get out of this house now!
Ìwọ, màá jẹ́wọ́ fún ẹ pé Amẹ́ríkà yìí ló bá mi. Màá jẹ́wọ́ fún ẹ, ṣé mo pa àjọmọ̀ nǹkan tó ń lé ni? Àjọmọ̀ nǹkan tó ń lé. Wà á rí náà wò.
Tá a máa ṣerú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀.
Aisha Yusuf ó ní ẹgbọ́ tó sọ̀rọ̀ yìí. Ìpolówó tẹ́ wò yìí ni wọ́n pè ní májẹ̀mú Amẹ́ríkà, ẹ̀yin náà ti rí nínú ẹ̀. Ẹni mi kan ló ṣe eré yìí, gbogbo òṣèré pátá ló kó sínú ẹ̀. Saheed Balogun wà ńbẹ̀, Murphy Afọlábí wà ńbẹ̀, àwọn èèyàn jankan. Ẹni dídì kó wọn lọ sí Amẹ́ríkà ni o. Àrà ọ̀sán pọ̀ ẹ̀fú ẹ̀lẹ̀ tó wà l'Amẹ́ríkà, òun náà wà nínú ẹ̀. Àìmọye àwọn èèyàn jàkànjàkàn ló wà ńbẹ̀. Ta ló ṣe májẹ̀mú lórí Amẹ́ríkà? Kí ni ìtumọ̀ májẹ̀mú Amẹ́ríkà? Láìpẹ́ yìí ẹ kú fojúsóde, a gbé eré yìí sí orí ìwòran ní ṣánẹ́ẹ̀lì wa, ìyẹn ó jẹ́ eré orí ìtàgé tiwa. Ṣé láìpẹ́ a fẹ́ máa ṣe ètò kan tí a pe àkọlé rẹ̀ ní àwọn gbajúmọ̀ láwùjọ. Àwọn gbajúmọ̀ láwùjọ yìí a máa pe àwọn òṣèré àwọn tó ti làmìlaka nínú iṣẹ́ orin tíátà àwọn adájọ́ àwọn agbẹjọ́rò àwọn èèyàn ńláńlá láti gba ojúmọ̀ láwùjọ a máa pè wọ́n wá sórí ètò bẹ́ẹ̀ náà la máa ṣe àwọn ètò eré orí ìtàgé báyìí fíìmù báyìí a máa fi hàn lẹ́ẹ̀kọ̀ọ̀kan ṣé ìgbàgbé Tani Fúlàní ẹ̀mọ̀pá jù síta ńgbà náà eléyìí èmi kọ́ ni mo ṣe ṣùgbọ́n èèyàn mi kan ló ṣe é májẹ̀mú Amẹ́ríkà òní táìtù ẹ̀ ó lẹ́wọ̀ tán yẹn promo ẹ̀ ó lẹ́wọ̀ yẹn lágbára Ọlọ́run láìpẹ́ yìí ẹ ṣàfojú ẹ máa fojú sóde nígbà tá a bá gbé a sọ fún yín pé lọ́la o ẹ rí májẹ̀mú Amẹ́ríkà wò full about 2 hours video or 1.5 hour video ni ìtọ́sí sọ síbẹ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀yin ará Amẹ́ríkà pátápátá àtẹ̀yìntẹ̀ wà ní òkè òkun àwọn ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ gangan sí yín tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí àwa Yorùbá ó ní wọ́n fi ṣe play májẹ̀mú Amẹ́ríkà yìí ẹ ṣàpò ojú lọ́nà láìpẹ́ á gbé wá sí ojú wòran yín nítorí pé eré ìdárayá la wà tí a bá gbàgbé láìpẹ́ bí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá ó ní wọ́n kéde ikú òdẹ́rìn-pòṣónú kan Babátúndé Omídínà tí gbogbo ayé Nurudeen Babátúndé Omídínà tí gbogbo ayé ń pè ní Bàbá Sùwé orúkọ ìyàwó rẹ̀ tí ń jẹ́ Sùwé náà ni gbogbo òun náà ló sọ Sùwé ọ̀tọ̀ lórúkọ tóbìnrin náà jẹ́ ṣùgbọ́n òun ló sọ ní Sùwé òun náà ló sọ Mr. Latin ní Mr. Latin òun ló sọ ọ̀pẹ̀bẹ̀ ní ọ̀pẹ̀bẹ̀ ó wá sọra rẹ̀ ní Bàbá Sùwé arákùnrin ìjáde láyé ní bí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá ṣùgbọ́n kí ni tó ṣe sábàbí kú ẹ̀ gan torí pé Ọlọ́run ló ń pa ẹ̀dá tásìkò ẹ̀dá bá sì tó ní ó lọ àmọ́ nǹkan kan ṣe sábàbí kú ẹ̀ àwọn kan wá gbé yẹ̀wò tá bá sì wò lóòótọ́ ara tí Yorùbá ń pè ní ìkónilẹ́rú oní tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí Bàbá Sùwé ara tí Yorùbá ń pè ní ìkónilẹ́rú òun náà ló ṣẹlẹ̀ sí láìṣẹ̀ láìrò ó ń lọ lóyìnbó jẹ́jẹ́ ni wọ́n sì gbé gbogbo tí wọ́n wá sọ pé wọ́n bá pé ó gbé cocaine ó ṣe kìíní kan fún bí odindi 15 days tí wọ́n fi dá dúró sọ́gbà wọn ọgbà NDLEA wọ́n rí kó yàgbẹ́ nǹkankan ara àwọn ìkà tá à ń sọ pé wọ́n ṣe fọ́mọ Yorùbá náà lélẹ́yìí ọmọkùnrin yóò yé títí tó fi kú kò yé gbogbo wàhálà tán fi ṣe yẹn àwọn kan wá jókòó lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ láwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n wọ́n sọ ọ̀rọ̀ lé ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn lórí mo fẹ́ ká gbọ́ nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ lórí Bàbá Sùwé Bàbá Nurudeen Babátúndé Omídínà mò ń padà bọ̀.
On Twitter, thanked him for bringing happiness and joy to many Nigerians. Baba Sùwé.
Let me commiserate with the family of Baba Sùwé. Baba Sùwé to me was one of the best comic that we had. And I believe that government killed him. Government killed him in the sense that when he was arrested for suspecting to have carried hard drugs, believed to be cocaine, he spent a lot of time with NDLEA, and they were trying for him to exploit what they believe was drugs that was inside him. Eventually, that did not happen, and he was released. He has not been himself since then. He went to court to go and fight for his right, and the court in his wisdom awarded him a cost of 25 million naira. The government never paid.
They appealed that judgment.
Yes. Yes, they appealed, but they never paid because it lost. I think it's the Supreme Court now. But the problem, his problem started that time, and it's so unfortunate that a top government agency will contribute to the ill health of somebody who contributed significantly to the entertainment industry.
Do you think while the process of executing those things that's
because it was in detention for a while, the trauma of it all, everybody was the psychological trauma. Because since that time, he had not really been himself.
Yes.
He was
sick. Never recovered.
Yes, he never recovered. For he was sick for some time. 2 years ago, people had to contribute money. A lot of people, the governor, Yadura, and a lot of people contributed money for him to be put on abroad for treatment. He came back, but he never really recovered from that trauma.
He didn't.
Yes, he didn't really So to some extent, they contributed to what happened to him.
Julie?
I agree absolutely with Mayor. NDLA killed this man. The conduct of NDLA was irresponsible.
Yes, absolutely.
And unfortunately, Baba Swe believed in the Nigerian judiciary.
Yes.
And got his lawyer, Bamidele Aturu, to seek redress in court. The court awarded 25 because they kept him in detention for 9 days.
Yeah.
Now, by our law, he did not commit capital offense. He did not kill anyone.
Yeah.
You had no right to keep him for that long illegally. Now, after keeping him in detention illegally for 9 days, administering laxatives so that he could expel what the so-called scanner saw in him, and he did not excrete anything because he clearly was not, he did not ingest drugs. Maybe, maybe somebody just one so-called whistleblower just told them, this person is carrying drugs, and they believed that whistleblower so much that they now kept him. They say after a while, at least he would excrete. They made him to eat, because the more you eat, the more your bowel becomes full. When your bowel is full, you must expel some of what you have eaten. Baba Swe never expelled illicit drugs. After 9 days, they now went to a federal high court to get the federal high court to give them permission to detain him for a further 15 days. A man that you could not get him to excrete drugs for 9 days, that was not enough for you. You still went to court and got the court to give you the permission to detain him for 15 days. Now, after all of that, Baba Swe felt he was ill-treated and went to court. Went to court, got that judgment. They started making noise. NDLA started making, what is the budget of NDLA? We don't have that money. They were trying to curry the sympathy of Nigerians that they will not be able to pay that debt. Invariably, they appealed. And when they appealed, Justice Rita Pemo now said in her judgment that 25 million was too much. That 9 days was not too, that we spent just 9 days. No law says that that you can keep someone for long before that person is entitled to damages.
Yes.
During the Second Republic, Gani Fawemi took the police to court for detaining Delegiwa, and it wasn't a long detention. The court mandated the police to apologize publicly to Delegiwa. So where was that judge when that happened? I assume that judge was not too young at that time. The judge, by saying that 9 days was not too long, do you know that she vacated the entire order? She didn't even go to the point of saying, okay, I reduce this damages to so amount. She vacated it completely, which means that Babatunde Omidina and Baba Swe never got justice.
Yes.
He never got justice. If you have said no, this money, because the length of time in detention can lead to the amount, the quantum of damages that you get. But by not even awarding anything to him, it was extremely unfair, extremely unkind. And none of the lawyers that have spoken to were not convinced that the judge did the right thing.
Okay, I have joining us is Mr. Tunji Bamishigbe. Is a movie producer and is also a lawyer.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Ayo.
Yes, I remember Uncle Kwame. Yes. What do you make of the death of Mr. Babatunde Omidina?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. It's late now, and it's quite painful because for somebody I was close to, and at the point he acted in my field, and there was opportunity for me then to advise him on how he was going about his trade. Then he was hiring I started acting. Has become so popular. So he bought some equipment that was hiring to his colleagues. And I spoke to him that day. I looked at the equipment. I told him that why was he using domestic equipment? He should, as a professional, to go and buy equipment. He listened to me that day. I engaged him. Afterwards, he acquired this equipment. I always come to me to ask for advice. He acted in my field, like I said. It's quite unfortunate the way the law went about Babasuwe's case. He was giving judgment. As you are giving judgment, and that's what is common these days. The moment you sue police and then there was a award for you, it is pretty difficult. Of course, even their own money, that their own budget is always stolen among themselves. So even getting your money is always a problem. He was getting to a point that his act is being challenged. You understand? Because with time your act can only last for a period of time, except you go to renew. He got to a point where I was trying to discuss with him how he could, change direction in a way, rearrange his act, getting some other things. But he will never do that thing. But again, there are so many other things that are accumulated because some of his close colleagues, the senior ones in the industry, I always engage them. I'm quite close to a lot of them, Jide Kosoko and the rest. Some of them who are their bosses, like Jide Kosoko, Adeba Salami, they've been their bosses as well. They always have that respect for them. I think it got to a point for this, and usually, permitting I'm assigning so much to God, you got to a point for you that where you are, go check it, go and look at the record of a lot of the actors. You got to a point that they are very popular, you are getting this done rightly, and then you just get to a point these are not really happening. But of course, it just happened that it was shortly after that is NDLA crisis and the court procedure and all of that affected, and the death of his wife too has been a challenge on his life, because the wife was not just a wife that gave me a child, but also a part of him in the business. But the combination of two of them really achieved much for them. So those are the things that pile up, and human being, the way these days there's a lot of challenge out there. Apart from our economic crisis and all of that, if one does not manage himself very well, by the time you know it, your simple things to discuss. I saw a picture of Uncle Olu about 2 weeks ago, posted by his wife. You are amazed what happened to Uncle Olu. Uncle Olu Jacobs, yes. I was amazed, but within myself, I started thinking of what I know. I was very close to him too, thinking certain things, and I identified certain things in our life that I felt that most other artists, I have to talk to them at the point. There are things we have to check, because our job requires use of brain and your physique. When you are tired physically, you have headache, you can feel it, you can apply drugs. But when you are tired mentally, you will not know. Because the way we go about that business, imagine a man at a certain age, there's something that at a point, the measure or a tendency to forget will come in at a certain age for you. You need not to be sick. By the time you are 60, you tend to forget it. But here we are doing this things that require you to remember everything. When you are giving perhaps a script whereby your pitch you are going to render is almost about 20, 30 pages, you have to stock it in your brain and release it. So, of course,
Mr. Bamishibin, you are a lawyer. You are a lawyer, and generally, when you look at that case, because a lot of people will say that because of the demise of his lawyer, that's Bamidele Aturu, that the Aturu we know would have proceeded to the Supreme Court. That was he fairly treated in this case?
I didn't know what really happened, why didn't really move it up, why did not get, but there are some other human rights lawyers that probably would have kept him. Obviously, Aturu did that case for him without actually collecting anything. But again, when Aturu died, there was a challenge. I really didn't know what happened. Apparently, maybe we'll have gone into that, but it was just that a lot of us didn't want to accept, because the judgment will have stayed and the government will have responded. But now the man is died. It's unfortunate. However, those who are behind that.
We'd like to thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vice Tunji Bamishibin. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for your intervention.
Science is very clear. Science is very clear. If you inject hard drugs, you understand, and you are kept for 9 days, given laxatives and food, you will accept it. It cannot disappear.
Yeah, it's not
There's nothing like that.
If
it can disappear, those who carry drugs don't need to go to the airport. You understand what I'm saying? They will sit where they are and talk to that drug, and the drugs will go to wherever they want the drugs to go. So they
won't need to even eat it.
They won't even need to ingest it. So that one doesn't work. That one doesn't work. Apparently, for whatever reason,
there's this fixation.
I believe that somebody must have told the NDLA that, oh, this person, don't forget that one popular actress was arrested for drugs at the airport, and she served, you know, she was given 1 year and then fine in lieu. You understand? We don't need to mention her name because she has not, but a very popular actress was arrested for drugs. So the fixation at that time was that a lot of people within Nollywood, especially the Yoruba genre, are involved in drug trafficking. So somebody could have mentioned to the officers to say, oh, I suspect that this guy is there. So they believe that, oh, they believe the source, the information that they got.
But they were claiming that their scanner saw something.
Yes, they
what
kept
kind
insisting,
of scanner?
They kept insisting.
What kind of scanner were they using? That saw something, and then
not only that, they even posted his picture, one of the picture where he was.
No, it's people that generated that one.
That one, okay.
Not them. Where he was sitting on pole. No, it's people. The truth is, you have no right to dehumanize anyone. It's against his right. It's against the law to dehumanize a man the way he was treated. And it was after 9 days that it occurred to them that they needed to go to the Federal High Court to get an order to detain for another 15 days. Before detaining him for 9 days, for that long, you know what the law says. He did not commit murder. You should have asked for permission to keep him for so long. Remember Showore now? They went to court and got the court to allow them to keep him for a length of time. And then when they wanted another 90 days, the judge said, no. So this is the thing. The law is clear. And then after you lied against a man, you made him excrete. He did not excrete the thing. You still went again. He never recovered. They should tell me whether he recovered. He never recovered. The denouement, the decline that of this man happened after that incident. All this story that, oh, he needed to have been flexible to change his style. There are people that will no longer even see do plates now. Are they dead? They're not dead.
I agree that you see, in this industry, if you have a particular style, you understand, Mr. Latin and some people Obachaja came later, you understand, and there were some comics that were different from his own, but that does not need to affect his health.
No, that is not, it has nothing to do with his health.
Yes, even if he was not very, because this is the man that had a house. He had a house in Korodu and had some shop.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. The message.
So I hope this is the last time that a Nigerian will be treated in this irresponsible manner. They caused his death. They caused his car.
tó ọ̀rọ̀ yìí ni àwọn ẹni yìí ni wọ́n yànnàná ni wọ́n ṣàlàyé lọ́rìn kìnìún tá a gbọ́ yìí. Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ kára àrùn fẹsẹ̀ sùn. Tí ẹ bá gbọ́ bí wọ́n ṣe mú bàbá Sùwé, wọ́n lẹ́nìkan ló pe bàbá Sùwé ló sọ fún un. A sì gbé ńgbà náà ńgbà tó kú. Mo wá bí Ọlọ́run pé k'Ọlọ́run foríjì, k'Ọlọ́run tẹ̀ sí afẹ́fẹ́ rere. Tó ibi láàfin àdàgbà ètò tònírọ̀sí ètò Yorùbá Nation Now. Ẹ jẹ́ tó sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí pé ẹ̀yin tí ẹ rí wa wò látijọ́ yìí lórí Facebook ẹ bá bínú. Wọ́n jọ wá kúrò ní Ọlọ́run tí wá dá wa padà ní ìsìn àdúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run. Ẹ̀yin tí ẹ wá mọ̀ pa wà lórí Facebook ẹ bá wa lọ sí Aláwìyé Gbàgede Mọ̀ with Aláwìyé Adébáyọ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí Instagram a wà lórí Gbàgede Mọ̀ _22. Ẹ fọ́lù wa láwọn àyè méjèèjì. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wá pẹ̀lú wa lórí YouTube ẹ wo bí tọ́kọ subscribe sí tẹ́ ẹ bá ti tẹ̀ rí ẹ bá wa tẹ̀ ẹ̀ẹ̀kan ṣo náà ni lè yóò tẹ̀ nígbésí ayé ẹ bá wa tẹ̀ kẹ́ ẹ subscribe fún wa. Bákan náà ni pé ẹ wo bí tí wọ́n fi àmì aago sí ni òun náà pè ní notification bell. Tẹ́ ẹ bá ti tẹ̀ tẹ́ ẹ sì tẹ̀ nígbà tó bá gbé wá á gbé àwọn nǹkan kan wá ibi tọ́kọ ALL sí all. Tẹ́ bá tẹ̀ bẹ̀yẹn náà ní agbára Ọlọ́run ọba gbogbo gbà tá a bá ti ń fi ètò ránṣẹ́ sí orí ṣánẹ́lì náà lẹ́ máa wò ní kedere. Bákan náà ni pé láìpẹ́ yìí ní bí ọ̀sán yìí ó ní mo ṣe fídíò kan lórí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ńlá. Mo ṣàlàyé lórí kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ sí Timothy Adégòkè. Ẹ̀yin tí ẹ bá ti wò ẹ lọ wò ohun tuntun kan ni mo tún fi ránṣẹ́ síbẹ̀. ṣé wá rí gbogbo ojú tẹ́ fi ń wò mí tẹ́ fi ń wo gbogbo ètò wa yìí ojú náà ní fọ́ lágbára Ọlọ́run etí tẹ́ sì fi ń gbọ́ wa etí náà ní di lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí májẹ̀mú Amẹ́ríkà ẹ máa retí ẹ̀ ní kòpẹ́kòpẹ́ yìí á gbèsáyé ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà l'Amẹ́ríkà yìí náà rọ̀ ọgbọ́n kankan bẹ̀ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lókè òkun ẹ rí ọgbọ́n kan àbí kejì kan bẹ̀ ẹ wà ráwa tá àti ìlọ́ta wà Nàìjíríà àwa náà rọ̀ ọgbọ́n kan àbí kejì kan níbẹ̀ ẹ ṣáà kó ojú lọ́nà ẹ̀ àti pé láìpẹ́ yìí á tún máa ṣe ètò kan tí wọ́n ń pè ní àwọn gbajúmọ̀ láwùjọ níbi táti máa gba àwọn tí gbogbo ayé mọ̀ tí gba ojúmọ̀ táti máa gbà wọ́n lálejò ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ látòrí òṣèré orí ìtàgé àwọn akọrin àwọn tó ń ṣe spọ́ọ̀tù àgbábọ́ọ̀lù tó sáré fún Nàìjíríà tí gbogbo ayé mọ̀ káàkiri bẹ́ẹ̀ àwọn adájọ́ àwọn oníṣẹ́ ńlá àwọn captains in the industries àwọn tó jẹ́ pé ọ̀gá iléeṣẹ́ ńláńlá àwọn sọ̀rọ̀sọ̀rọ̀ láti máa gbà wọ́n lálejò rèé àwọn tó jẹ́ tá a bá gbé dé báyìí ẹ̀ẹ́dì lágbájáre gbogbo ayé ti mọ̀ ẹni tí gba ojúmọ̀ a pè ní àwọn gbajúmọ̀ láwùjọ láìpẹ́ yìí títí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ ẹ máa wò ó lójú wòran wa yìí ètò tuntun tí ó tún máa wá sáyé lórí channel wa ni bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni májẹ̀mú Amẹ́ríkà á fìyẹn náà ránṣẹ́ ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ lágbára Ọlọ́run ẹ ṣáà kó ojú lọ́nà ṣé mo máa ń sọ ní gbogbo ìgbà pé èmi ni ọmọ apẹran lábàdí ọmọ àtàgbà káṣà èmi lọmọ ẹwọ máa mẹmu ògiri yóò máa di ògòǹgò ọ̀pẹ èmi lọmọ ẹkú kélé mọjá mọ̀rọ̀ ìjẹ̀bẹ̀sì mo ṣetán lẹ́ni o mo fẹ́ máa lọ sílé ṣé agbe mi ṣetán ó ń rèlú dáró àlùkò mi ṣetán o ó ń rèlú kòsùn lékèlékè mi ṣetán ó ń rèlú kẹfun ẹ jẹ́ àtúnjọ pàdé lọ́la lágbára Ọlọ́run Elédùmarè ọba ògo èmi náà ni aláwìyé Adébáyọ̀ Sàbúrì ọmọ bàbá tíṣà lábẹ́kúta ẹni tí gbogbo yín mọ̀ sí bàbá gbàgede mọ̀ ẹ jẹ́ àtúnjọ pàdé èmi ò ní kú ẹ̀yin náà ò ní kú ìkọ̀kan nínú wa ò ní dòkú lágbára Èdùàrè tó títí tààtù fi pàdé mo ń ṣe ládùúrà wípé kọ́lọ̀ kó má kọ àtúrí wa o láyọ̀.
èmi ni aláìlúwà ọba dókítà Adédòkun Ọmọnìyí Àṣọlá Bọ́lárìn aróyin kẹ́yè kínní ọ̀ràngún tí ìlú Òkè Ìlá ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa mo rọ̀ yín o ẹ máa bá mi wo BGI TV bàbá gbàgede olólùfẹ́ Yorùbá ni ó fẹ́ òótọ́ sísọ ó máa fẹ́ràn àwọn ènìyàn ó fẹ́ràn wa nílẹ̀ Yorùbá ẹ máa wo ibi tó yẹ ká máa bò ní gbogbo ìgbà ibi tá a bá dẹ̀ ti lè ran ilé iṣẹ́ yìí lọ́wọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká ràn wọ́n lọ́wọ́ wọ́n ń ṣe nǹkan tọ́lọ́run nìkan wá ṣe ni ojú wa ò ní fọ́ o etí wa ò ní di o iléeṣẹ́ náà kò ní dàrú iléeṣẹ́ náà á máa dàgbà sókè ni. BGI TV ẹ má fi ṣeré.
BGI TV yìí mo fẹ́ máa wò ọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ tí ń gbèsè mo fẹ́ gbọ́ ètò lóríṣiríṣi wọ́n wà lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan ìròyìn tó kojú òṣùwọ̀n àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ àgbọ́ fi kọ́gbọ́n eré wọlé fún tẹ̀rù tọmọ tèwe tàgbà ẹ má fi para. BGI TV mo fẹ́ máa wò ọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ tí ń gbèsè mo fẹ́ gbọ́ ètò lóríṣiríṣi wọ́n wà lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan ìròyìn tó kojú òṣùwọ̀n àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ àgbọ́ fi kọ́gbọ́n eré wọlé fún tẹ̀rù tọmọ tèwe tàgbà ẹ má fi para àdànà kó kọjá mórí nǹkan fèrè bàbá rere káwí parí BGI TV we are the pace setters. Bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ tẹlifíṣọ̀n station tí dòde.
Iléeṣẹ́ amóhùnmáwòrán tó mọ bó ṣe ń lọ tó ní ìròyìn kọ́ńbọ̀kì tó jẹ́ yàjóyàjó ìròyìn àti ìsọfúnni àtìgbàdégbà àwọn ètò tó ké pọ́pọ́ flẹ̀ má yí kúò ń bẹ̀ má gbé kúò ń bẹ̀ máa jẹ̀gbádùn ẹ̀ lọ BGI TV bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ TV èdùn ọ̀kìn ló dirí ẹwà fákùkọ o bí ọ̀kìn bá tú ìyẹ́ ẹ̀ díẹ̀ ẹwà rẹ̀ àkàlẹ̀ àkà oko ẹ kàn sí ẹ̀ka ìpolówó ọjà wa láti bá wa dòwò pọ̀ lórí +234 70 38 22 61 60 fún àwọn tí ń bẹ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà 070 38 22 61 60 BGI TV bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ TV ọ̀gá ni kọ́ń láwùjọ kùtà.
bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ tẹlifíṣọ̀n station tí dòde.